Hello everyone, I am back with another video. Today just showing you some of the games that I've picked up so far here in 2025. Now admittedly, most of this stuff is stuff that I got during Black Friday late last year, and then many of these games are actually things that I picked up with some Christmas or holiday money that I got a couple months back. So a lot of this stuff I haven't had a chance to play quite yet, some of which I actually have finished and rolled credits on, but my ultimate hope with my pickups videos is not just showing you this giant stack of games that I bought, but I really want to bring games to your attention that maybe you hadn't heard of before, show some gameplay footage, and again, just bring games to your attention that maybe you hadn't otherwise heard of before. So make sure you leave a comment down below. Let me know what are games that you have picked up recently, but also maybe more than anything, what are some games that maybe you've added to your wish list that kind of caught your curiosity and you might be looking into buying coming away from this video. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Now, the first thing that's probably worth making note of here, and for people that have been following the channel for a while, I have a new shelving unit behind me, and this is actually the one that holds all of my Switch cases and some miscellaneous figures. I wasn't intending to add any additional shelves to the game room, but we had our Switch collection in our bedroom on this bookshelf, and my wife was kind of looking for a new home for those. And so she was like, well, why don't you just get a matching shelf to kind of be compatible with the design that you have in the back of your game room now? And I was like, really? You're like encouraging this? And so naturally, within 3 days, we had a new shelving unit at the house, and I assembled it quickly and added the Switch cases there. So that is the last item I really wanted to get to kind of fill out the game room. We are ready for an official tour, so I'm already planning a recording date for myself here pretty soon, and you probably should expect that depending on the release of certain videos in a couple weeks, so stay tuned for that. But let's go ahead and get started with the pickups. The first thing I have here on PS5 is LEGO Horizon Adventures. I think PlayStation is going all in on the Horizon series with the success of Zero Dawn and of course Forbidden West. I think we have a live action movie or a TV show coming soon, and then I think we were all kind of surprised. I think it was actually during a Nintendo Direct or some kind of Nintendo showcase. That was maybe where this was revealed. I can't really recall. Maybe it was a PlayStation showcase and was later revealed at a Nintendo Direct. But regardless, LEGO Horizon Adventures is a LEGO game that really follows the events of the first game's story. I personally am a very big fan of both Zero Dawn and Forbidden West, and it was really fun to play through this game. I finished it a couple nights ago, and I played through it after I wrapped up Hogwarts Legacy. So coming away from a giant kind of open world RPG, it was nice to play a LEGO game because it's been years since I've played one of these traditional LEGO games. And while I was hoping for them to kind of move the needle forward in terms of gameplay, they largely stay close to their roots of just getting into these levels, mashing up a bunch of miscellaneous items. You get a bunch of studs that you can collect to buy new outfits and things like that for Aloy and the 3 other playable characters. I was hoping, you know, you could like go into the grass and sneak up to these machines and do stealth kills like you can in the main game. There's none of that. It's really just using your bow and arrow and some other gadgets that you can unlock throughout the game to kill these the notable mechanical dinosaurs that you've kind of known and come to expect in the Horizon series. But it was still kind of neat to use like the Tripcaster when you have a bunch of kind of the dinosaur-like creatures running around and them kind of exploding, collecting the studs, rinse and repeat. And then after each level, you kind of come back to this hub area where you can kind of like re-outfit the entire camp and redesign it with all kinds of additional buildings and other just decorations that made kind of the rinse and repeat LEGO gameplay formula a little bit more exciting than in some of those other LEGO games we've played previously. And the game definitely doesn't overstay its welcome. I think I beat it in about 8 hours. If I wanted 100% and get the Platinum Trophy, it probably would have taken me an additional 6 to 8 hours because there's just a lot of like maxing out character levels and things like that. But all in all, a pretty good time. I'd recommend picking this up for $20 to $30. And I also wouldn't mind PlayStation partnering with LEGO going forward and doing like a God of War or a Ghost of Tsushima or even an Uncharted LEGO game. I think that'd be a lot of fun, but I don't really know how well this sold, so not gonna hold my breath on that.
I have something for you. A strange device Tirsa found next to you when you were a baby. It's called a focus?
I won't ask why you've kept it from me all this time because I'm just too excited. Gimme! Huh. Does it go like... Looks like it goes... Here.
Well, come on. I've waited years to find out what it does.
Whoa. I can see stuff shining on those targets. Like it's telling me where to shoot. This must be so rare. Like one of a kind.
Next up, we have a pretty neat side-scrolling 2D platformer, and that is Euphoria to the Saga, or Euphoria the Saga 2. I'm not entirely clear on the correct pronunciation. And I picked this one up based on a recommendation or watching someone stream this, a friend of mine, Pete Dorr, and then my friend Blinkoom here on YouTube as well. This is another one that is tough to recommend just because it is such a simple kind of bare bones 2D platformer where you play as some of these goofy characters. Pretty decent music. It reminds me of something that you would have expected on the Sega Genesis or the Super Nintendo, and then discovered it as part of some kind of hidden gems video on YouTube nowadays. Pretty catchy soundtrack, really goofy and pretty witty writing, and then you basically play through a series of levels and then you unlock an additional character. They have a unique skill that typically revolves around them being able to jump higher or maybe float from one platform to the next. So you can then cycle through these characters using the trigger buttons to reach certain platforms or use their particular skill in a way to continue to navigate through these levels. So again, nothing to write home about, but a really striking graphical style that kind of reminds me of something like Yoshi's Crafted World, and just some really catchy music as well. So if you're a fan of 2D platformers of the Genesis, Super Nintendo era, definitely worth checking out, but not one to break the bank on. Now, speaking of Blinkoom, this was one of his top 10 games of the year, and I think caught quite a traction in the indie community last year, and that is this Metroidvania called Ultros. One I truthfully had never heard of until I watched Blinkoom's video, or his Game of the Year video. And it's as you can kind of just tell from the front of the case and even on the back of the box, a really psychedelic, super colorful Metroidvania game, gated exploration. And just based on some of the gameplay footage that I was watching, I mean, outside of this very psychedelic, almost overwhelmingly colorful look, there just seems to be some really intense kind of close quarters combat, think like Hollow Knight, and just some really interesting environments to explore. So I don't tend to go out of my way to play these Metroidvania games nowadays because there's just so many of them in the indie space. But when you have a graphical style like this, and certainly when it becomes highly recommended from my friend Blinkoom, I definitely did not want to pass this one up. And it also comes in a really nice slipcover case, I think, with some cool art cards and some other collectible items here. And this one was $30 on Amazon. So I had a nice Amazon gift card from some family. This is one I added to the list. If you like Metroidvania, gated exploration type games, this is definitely one to add to your wish list. Now, I try not to pick up too much during Black Friday, but there were some sales that I didn't want to pass up. One of them is Epic Mickey Rebrush. This, of course, is the remaster of the game that originally came out on the Nintendo Wii. And this, if you know me and have followed me and my channel for any amount of time, this was like a dream game back when it originally came out. Just War Inspector creating this really unique world, using kind of the old school Mickey Mouse design to create this really interesting 3D platformer where you get to kind of use this paintbrush to manipulate the world. And I only played a little bit of it on the Wii, and I've always been meaning to kind of go back to it. I have the second game on PlayStation 3, and I've just never really set up my Wii and played it. And truthfully, it's probably best experienced on the Wii just because of, I think, you know, Mickey kind of using this brush to kind of use the paint and paint thinner to manipulate the world and kind of solve different puzzles. Using the Wiimote and the nunchuck probably would have really heightened that experience. But when I watched Pete Dorr, speaking of him, stream the demo, I was like, wow, this graphically looks really, really nice. They did not just throw out some cash grab remaster that was kind of low effort. They really seem to have gone out with the remaster here. And so I have to imagine now this is the definitive way to play Epic Mickey. And I was honestly kind of shocked that they decided to remaster this game. I mean, THQ Nordic is typically pretty well known for remastering a lot of games nowadays, but very excited to go back to this one. Looking forward to giving it the time I think it deserves. And then if I like it good enough, then maybe I'll end up just sliding right into the sequel that I have as well. But let me know down below, have you played Epic Mickey, either the original or rebrushed? What do you think of it? I'm definitely looking forward to giving it a try here soon. Next up, we have another indie game that I'd never heard of before, and I've mentioned this before on the channel. If you don't have the Best Buy app downloaded on your phone and you're here in the States, I'd certainly recommend that you do that because they oftentimes have video game sales. So you can just go onto their website, filter on video games, look for games on sale, and I've often discovered a lot of games that way, including these next two. But first up, we have Pepper Grinder, which was published by Devolver Digital. I'd never heard of the developer before, but it is a really kind of 8-bit style, side-scrolling 2D platformer where you play as this young girl, and as you can see, you have this little drill device. So you're kind of platforming through these 2D environments in a very simplistic 8-bit kind of NES style way, but where I think things get much more interesting is where you use that drill to your advantage to further progress and navigate and explore these levels. And it's not like a dig dug drill that you kind of just slowly move through the ground or move through walls. Think like a dolphin navigating the ocean. That's kind of the speed and kind of the movement of the character when you're using this drill and kind of navigating the ground or navigating walls. And I just thought that was really interesting, kind of a kinetic, fast-paced 2D platformer, again, in that 8-bit NES style. And I kind of bought it blind, and then it wasn't until after the copy arrived, I got it for $20, that I saw that it was kind of hit or miss for people last year. It did release in 2024. I saw it on some list as a top 10 indie game last year. Others said it was a bit of a disappointment. So I'll be the judge for myself, but it certainly looked kind of like a mix of just an interesting 2D platformer while also bringing Drill Dozer back to life if you ever played that game on the Game Boy Advance. So one I'm interested in checking out, and again, I got it for 20 bucks. Looked like a solid little indie title. Now, the other game I also got on the Best Buy app, and this was $10, and it was the title and the cover art that really struck me, and that is Rustler. Now, I truthfully had never heard of this game before. It is essentially an old school PS1 era Grand Theft Auto clone. Think that bird's eye view, but set in a medieval universe. And I read some reviews, I watched some gameplay, and it seems to be exactly that. A great game to play for short bursts where if you enjoy that old school GTA style mission structure, that's what this is, but you play in kind of a medieval universe. So think like riding around on a horse, pillaging tents, stealing things, just causing mayhem. And then instead of being chased by the police and police cars, you're being chased by a bunch of other guys on horses. It looks chaotic, it looks goofy, probably pretty vulgar, but the reviews that I was reading, it's fun in short bursts like the earlier old school GTA games. But I think the more you play it, the more you kind of recognize and appreciate, yeah, it's probably best that we've moved on to the 3D realm when it comes to these GTA style games. But one I was very intrigued by. I got it for $10. If you want to kind of get a sense for what it was like to play Grand Theft Auto back in the day on PlayStation 1, but not play those original games, maybe Rustler is a game to look into. Definitely one I'm looking forward to giving it a shot here soon. Next up, we have another game that I got during Black Friday, and this is one that I really wanted to wait for a sale on just because as big a fan of From Software as I am, the Dark Souls, Demon Souls, Bloodborne type games, this is one that I wasn't really sure was going to be my cup of tea, and that is Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon. And what I find really fascinating about this game and kind of being developed by From Software is instead of like this giant open world like you kind of have come to know and expect from the Dark Souls and Bloodborne type games, this is more kind of chapter specific, kind of A to B levels, while still kind of keeping with the very intense, very challenging boss battles and even just level to level normal enemies. I think it's pretty punishing on the difficulty front. So not sure how I'll like this game because mech type games. The Armored Core series was never something that I really was into growing up, and I've never played an Armored Core game before, but anything FromSoft does, I just have an interest in and can appreciate either as a player or from afar. So we'll see, we'll figure out which side of the fence I sit on once I have an opportunity to give this game a try. But curious from folks down in the comment section below, have you played Armored Core 6? And even if you were not a fan of the series and kind of the ones that have come before it, if you're a fan of Dark Souls, did it still kind of scratch that itch for you? Definitely let me know down in the comments below. Hopefully I'll have impressions of this in a later video. Next up, we have a JRPG that probably didn't need to buy day one, but anytime I can show this series and the developer support, I want to try and do that. And that is Ys 10 Nordics. I think it's fascinating that this series has continued to have the success that it has over the past several years. And if it wasn't for Happy Console Gamer, Johnny Millennium, I honestly don't know if it would have. Maybe I'm just speaking on an island, but like, I know I would have never discovered this series if it wasn't for him, and picked up those games on the PSP back in the day, Oath and Felghana, 7, and Chronicles 1 and 2. And for it to now have, you know, 8, 9, and now 10 remasterings of some of those earlier games, I think it's just extraordinary, and just a testament to how YouTube can be almost a way to kind of evangelize for some of these series that are probably lesser known. But Ys 10 Nordics, I've heard, just continues to put Adol front and center. The action RPG combat that we've come to know and expect and fall in love with, outstanding music, and what really sold me on this game, and I think a lot of people are like, I don't know if that's my jam, probably not my thing. When you said Assassin's Creed Black Flag ship combat and exploration, I was like, all right, here's a blank check. What do I have to do to play this game? Very excited to give this a try as well. I don't know when I'll get around to playing it because I've yet to play Ys 9, but again, I wanted to show the developer support, and I know that I will absolutely enjoy this game when I get around to playing it, and probably something I'll be playing on the PlayStation Portal here later this year. These next two games, I have to shout out my friend ReturntoMotherBase here on YouTube. He'll often ping me on Discord and just say, hey, you should buy this, and it's on sale, so it's tough for me to say no at times. But this one in particular really seemed to be up my alley, and that is Still Wakes the Deep, which is a first-person psychological horror game where you're this man kind of trying to escape the Scottish police, and you find yourself on an oil rig working as an electrician, and things just kind of start to go south pretty fast. And I think it is less on the jump scares and more just kind of on that psychological thriller horror. That's kind of what it leans into more, which again definitely seems to be up my alley. Also, anytime you have people with Scottish accents in a game, I think always makes for an interesting time. And it was also developed by the Chinese Room, so think the folks that did, I think, Amnesia, Machine for Pigs, Dear Esther, and Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. So definitely have some success as a developer, and I've heard pretty good things about this. I got it for 20 bucks on Amazon. It's also on Game Pass right now, I believe, but if you're into kind of first-person psychological horror, definitely look no further. Try Still Wakes the Deep, and it's only like a 5 to 8 hour game. It's relatively short, so definitely looking forward to giving this a try. Maybe something I'll save for spooky season. Now this next one, he messaged me I think really late at night. I was taking care of the baby. The sleep deprivation got the best of me, and so did FOMO. And that is Enchanted Arms on the Xbox 360. And I think originally this was exclusive to the 360. I think it's since been ported to the PS3. And the reason why FOMO kind of got the best of me is, one, prices on the Xbox 360 have kind of been going up in recent years. So any games I wanted to get, I wanted to make sure I kind of got before prices got way out of hand. But also, it was developed by FromSoft. And as I was kind of mentioning earlier with Armored Core, even a game on the outside looking in I wouldn't normally be interested in playing, just given their pedigree as a developer, it's almost like if you discovered Naughty Dog for the first time and you played The Last of Us as your first Naughty Dog game, you'd probably be like, I want to see some of the other games this team has developed. And then you go all the way back and you discover, oh wow, Jak and Daxter and Crash Bandicoot 2? This is pretty great. This is kind of similar with Enchanted Arms, but it is a really strange, tactical, turn-based RPG with some really interesting voice acting and goofy writing. And when I watch some gameplay, I'm like, yeah, I think I ended up getting it for about $25, so nothing too crazy. And it's a pretty long game too, and I can't remember if it's backwards compatible on Series X or not. But regardless, it's a FromSoft game. I wanted to give it a try, so thank you, Alex, ReturntoMotherBase, for causing me to buy 2 games here in this pickups video, both of which I am very much looking forward to playing, though. And then next up, we have a handful of Switch games here that I'll kind of go through relatively quickly. The first of which is Sea of Stars. I got this primarily for my wife because she was looking for another RPG to play, and Sea of Stars, at the time I got this, was, I can't remember if I Am 8-Bit had put out physical copies of this or what it was, but Chrono Trigger style RPG, turn-based, really excellent soundtrack. I think got a lot of buzz back in 2023 when it released, and one I've been meaning to play myself, although I'd probably play this on PlayStation 5 using the Portal. Regardless, Sea of Stars is one I'm happy to add to our collection, and one I think my wife is looking forward to playing soon. Luigi's Mansion 3. It's been a long time since I've played the original Luigi's Mansion, so I probably am due for a complete series playthrough. Now that we have pretty much the entirety on Switch, I think I'd still have to play the port of the 3DS game, and then 2 and 3 I could play on the Switch. But I've heard there's pretty decent co-op in the third game, and certainly a great game to play around the spooky season. So looking forward to giving that a try. And then next up, I also got Super Mario Bros. Wonder. A game that came out in 2023, it reviewed well, and then after that, I just don't really remember a ton of people talking about it. Although some friends of mine have spoken very highly of it and said that it's an excellent 2D Mario game. One friend specifically said this is probably the best 2D side-scrolling Mario game since Mario Bros. 3 and Super Mario World. His words, not my own. I still have the copy sealed, but I'm really looking forward to breaking that seal and probably playing it co-op with my wife later this year. So stay tuned for impressions. Maybe it ends up making it on my top 10 games of the year here in 2025. We'll have to see. And then last but certainly not least, we have Super Mario Party Jamboree. I wasn't intending on getting this, but my wife and I have played the more recent Mario Party game. I can't keep any of these names straight because they're just not very intuitive, but the most recent one that had boards from the N64 Mario Party games, we've played that for like well over 60, 70 hours. I've pretty much maxed out everything that you can in the game, and we've played all of those mini games and boards to death. And so around New Year's time, I ordered a copy of Super Mario Party Jamboree, and we played it kind of ringing in the new year. And it's a lot of fun. It's more Mario Party, some fun new boards. You have probably more characters in this one than you have in any previous Mario Party games. And there's a lot of additional modes in this one as well. Although, I just wish that Nintendo, similar to what they've done with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, I wish we just got Super Mario Party Deluxe, where they would just add a ton of DLC boards, a ton of DLC minigame packs, and things like that. I know that is not to the benefit of Nintendo's bottom line, because they're going to keep pumping out these Mario Party games and selling them for $60, and people like myself are to continue to buy them. But maybe for Switch 2, they'll just start pumping out DLC for the most recent Mario Party game, and I'll be there cleaning up on that DLC. But those are all of my pickups for this particular video. Definitely let me know down in the comment section below. Did I bring a game or two to your attention that maybe you hadn't otherwise heard of, like Ultros or Pepper Grinder? Let me know down below. I once again want to thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in my next one.